Hello, and welcome to the Childcare Business Coach. I'm going to change things up a little bit and start with a new introduction here. I really never liked the first one I was using, so let me know what you think, if you like it, if you miss it, but I'm going to change things up for now. So we are back after our 2-week break for Christmas vacation, the holidays. I hope everyone had a wonderful time. I know I did. I got to spend the 2 weeks with both of my boys. So it was nice having my whole family under one roof. I hope you also had a great holiday. So today we are continuing with part 2 of my interview with my business coach, Kristine Mehler. She is the founder and CEO of TLG Financial Foundations. I hope that you gain some really useful information from this interview. I know every time I talk to Kristine, I learn something new and I just gain some valuable information. At the end of the show, I will give you her contact information, and of course, I will add all her contact information in the show notes. So, what else do you see as some misconceptions owners have? And I'll just point, one of the ones I think I had was I guess I blamed everything around me. I blamed the customers that were out there. I blamed how much I could charge for tuition. And I always thought that if I just had $20,000 or even sometimes $10,000, all this would clear up. And I never, I guess, realized that even if I had that, I still would have ended up in the same mess because I didn't know how to manage my books. I didn't know how to read my information. So what other misconceptions do you see?
That they have to have the money in order to start or get the help. That they need to see getting help for their business as an investment and not an expense. And so when you set a goal, like you said with the computer, if you really need a new computer, then you set the goal and you set the money aside. You budget for it. The misconception is that business owners don't see that they can make the investment in getting the help. So they see it as an expense that they can't afford. And what we need to do is we need to say, this is what I need to do in my business. And I need to just get it done and make it happen so that I can address all the things, all the areas. And so that's a big issue. If they see it as an investment, they get the help that they need and they can turn that corner, then so many more opportunities. I also believe that we should focus on those dreams and goals. What is it we want for our business? And if we believe in what we want, if we're clear in what we want, it will happen.
Right. Oh, yeah. And I think that's so hard when you're drowning to even think about dreams and goals, because at that point, I know when you were talking to me about that at the time, I just kept thinking to myself, if I can even survive this, how do I even think of a dream and a goal? And it probably took me a year before I was even able to get into that mindset of like realizing like, wait a second, I can have dreams and goals for my business again. I know for like the beginning, all I wanted to do was sell it. I just wanted to get to the point where I could just get out of it and basically unbury my family from the mess that we were in because of the business. And so, yeah, I totally agree, though. If you can really just get your mind to start thinking about those dreams again, it really is nice. It's nice to be able to think that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just about hope, right?
Right.
So once you made the investment and we began working, you could start to see changes. And then again, that's the result, right? And the result gives you hope. And so now you're able to go on. I remember when you were so ready to be done and you weren't sure what other direction you were going to go in. And 4 years later, you're asking me how we can get to the next center.
Right.
And 5 more after that, you know.
Planning on, yep. My goal now, is to have 5 within the next 10 years. So it's kind of funny how I went to, and I did, I mean, at the time, right before I hired you, I had sold one of my centers and I sold it at a loss. I didn't, I ended up selling it at a loss mainly because we would have actually been okay on that, but the new owner ended up going bankrupt. So because of that, it ended up being a loss.
Mhm.
So, yeah, absolutely. Just total shift in now, it just basically brought my original hopes and dreams back.
Yeah, and that's what it's really about. Why do we get into business? To make money. And because we're passionate about what we do, right? So when you can build something based on those dreams and it comes to fruition, doesn't that make you a happy person?
Right.
Yeah, so it's about being happy. And we had to pull your happy back out. Is all we had
Right.
to do.
Yes. Yep. Instead of just being, yeah, that stress and,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So, and like I said, it was literally my last attempt to save the business and to unbury my family. And what I would suggest to people out there is that you can't afford not to do it. At the time, I thought I couldn't afford it. I know you started me at a really low price point. I think you started me at like $500 a month, which now in retrospect seems so low. But at the time I thought, oh my goodness, how am I ever going to pay a $500 a month bill? But something inside me realized that I couldn't afford not to, that no matter what I did, I had to find the money because it was either that or I was going to lose my business and my family was going to be in debt. Not only was I going to lose the business, but my family would also carry debt. So I think for anyone out there thinking about working with you or with us, I would really just say, you got to really ask yourself, can you afford not to? Is it worth it? And another note on that is you really helped me right off the bat find the money to pay you. So that was very helpful too, that you really like cutting out that 17%. I think it only took us like 3 months. And within the first month, you had helped me find that $500 a month to pay you. And then within the first 3 months, I was down 17%. So I think that's important to note too, that for people who are scared out there, that is one of your goals, is to help us find the money to pay that extra bill. So
Absolutely. It's a team effort, right? If you grow, we grow, and that's what we want. I don't want uh, clients that I take their money and don't provide any value. I want everyone to see us as a high value company and service provider. And so for me, I'm investing in you so that you can reinvest in me. And so therefore we both grow our businesses.
right. Oh yeah, and it's definitely been priceless. When Ron and I go over our numbers now, I always tell him it's worth every dime what
Mhm.
I've paid over the years. But and what else do you notice? If there was one thing an owner could do tomorrow to just alleviate some of that stress, what would you suggest?
Take a step back and think about what it is you really truly want to do with your center or business, and then ask for help.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, get that help. And I think one of the biggest pain points that I see talking to other owners is payroll. So, and that was something that you really helped me with, is just learning how to minimize what I was at, 70% of my
Hmm.
outgoing was at payroll. And I think I'm down now to 50%. So huge decrease. And I have to note that I still have a lot of those longtime employees. I did lose some, but I do still have a lot of them. It was more just like how you taught me the time management piece, and just really cutting and making sure we didn't have a lot of overtime. And also when you walked me through just utilizing them to their best ability, like finding what are their strengths and helping me figure out like what should this employee be doing. So do you see a lot of that with the businesses that you work with, like the payroll problems that I had?
Yeah, I think across the board, that's one of the biggest pain points in your industry, for sure.
Right.
And
And
go ahead.
uh-huh. Oh, go ahead.
Well, the difficult part and the wonderful part at the same time is you do have that loyal staff for a long time, and salaries go up and cost of living goes up. So over time, If you're not focusing on your target sales, your growth at the same time, it's not going to be in proportion, right? The payroll's going to get too high over time. So there's other strategies you can do to acknowledge your staff without permanent increases, but reasonable increases, is important too. So it's just finding that balance so that it doesn't get out of hand over time.
And most of us owners were former teachers or former directors. So we carry a lot of guilt knowing that we really can't afford to pay our staff what we deserve or what they deserve. And so I think that's something you've really helped me with the mind shift in understanding that, first of all, like you were saying, according to statistics, the money isn't always the most important things that staff looks for. I mean, it's awesome and everybody needs to make a living, but there's other things you can do to help with that, just to give them that satisfaction of working in a place that they are proud of, or just acknowledgement. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, it depends on how you think about it, but I know with my team, and I've encouraged you with your team, is to be open and have the dialogue about what's going on and what needs to happen in order to have a healthy business. You asked us to come down and talk to your staff about the programs that we were implementing, and they were pretty excited about it. And there was a shift that happened for you there too. And it's just getting everybody on board, right? And then being that leader that they need. And you're right. Most people are looking for acknowledgement, and appreciation over the dollar. I mean, don't get me wrong. Everybody wants to make money and live a comfortable lifestyle. But it's also about quality of life, right? So if they have quality of life and they're excited to be part of your team and grow your business, eventually you can implement ways of sharing profit. So you're not doing permanent increases on salaries, but you're sharing through bonuses, based on performance and success.
Right. And that helps because then the staff is more focused on helping with the success of the center, because the bonuses are based on the success of the center. Mm-hmm. And I've also tied that into just making sure that I've tied it into their performance with call-ins and whatnot. So if they call in or whatever throughout a quarter, they don't get part of that bonus through the profit. So that's also helped too with just employee performance altogether. I think also, it helps to be that, like you mentioned, transparent. I think that was a huge game changer for me too, is realizing that it's okay to talk about money. And in our society, it's almost taboo to talk about money. But in a business, what our staff and our families even see is all they look at is, this is how many kids you have, and this is what you charge a week. They add that up and assume that we are rolling in the money. And I know for me, my center is in a beautiful building, and it probably from an outside perspective looks like I should, all these years I should be just loaded. But there's such a huge misperception of how much we're actually paying out. And when we started doing the staff meetings with my staff, that the annual showing them, okay, this is what last year looked like, these are our numbers, that really helped them to understand that I am not just hoarding money or going on vacation, so that they don't get a raise. It really helped them to see the reality of why they get paid what they get paid. So do you get a lot of pushback from owners not wanting to talk about money because of how it can be taboo?
They're not comfortable with it at first. And a lot of business owners aren't. They don't want their staff to see numbers. But I think sharing the big picture of, you can summarize it in, this is percentage-wise what it really costs us for every dollar that comes in. 60 cents goes back out to wages right now. So you can do it in a way where you're not actually displaying your actual numbers, but really getting across the message of what's really happening in the business.
Right. And then I know another issue that I'm seeing a lot of just talking to different owners throughout the country is when they are not an owner and director. The directors are often left out of the loop when it comes to finances, but it is almost impossible for a owner to rely on their director to be able to help with those financials, just to keep the financials in line, basically. And it's really not fair to the director to be expected to run a center without knowing about the financials. Talk a little bit about that.
No, we found that it's very important for the business owners to be involved with the directors, or the directors have full, reign on everything, or the ability to talk to us and go over financials as if they're running the business on their own. But it's really important that owners are invested in giving that director the support that they need, the information and the tools, and the ability to work with people like us and tax accountants and so forth.
Right. And then one last thing I wanted to touch on, speaking about accountants, I think there's also a misperception that when you're a business owner, you just hire a bookkeeper, you hire an accountant, you hand everything over to them, let them do everything, and you're good. And I can tell you from, my personal experience that I did have an accountant that was embezzling for me at one point, and it was my bookkeeper and accountant. It was just an all-in-one package I was doing. And because I had no clue on what was going on, I just handed everything over to her. I didn't know how to read my reports. I didn't know how to read my books. I really just had no idea. And I would have had no way of knowing because I was so blinded, which is, I know one of the reasons that you are so passionate about making sure we learn this stuff ourselves instead of just handing everything over. So elaborate on that.
Well, the accounting industry in the past, I think there was some fear of advising business owners. There's some fear, not for everybody, but in general, a fear of, teaching a business owner too much and then losing the service. And I know that I don't think like that. I think that it's about the more I educate you, the more you're going to grow, the more I'm going to learn. Our motto is teach, learn, grow. So it's the opposite. I think by teaching you and making you more confident in your numbers, loving the numbers, makes you a stronger business owner, therefore helps you with your healthy business goals. So I don't think like that. But there is a big shift in the industry right now where we are striving to be better advisors, I should say, and focus more on the advisory side of our services. And so that's been new over the last several years. And not everybody has gotten on board with that yet, but slowly but surely it's coming. And so the day of you going to a tax or a bookkeeper and them handing you financials that mean nothing to you except putting them in a file cabinet so you can provide your bank with them every now and then, those days are going away. And the days of us taking the time to really get to know you and your pain points and those goals, and then helping you get there, that's the new era. That's where we want to be.
And that's where it should be. I think that's otherwise you are vulnerable and you really don't know your business. And if I know the Shark Tank, if you ever watch that, they're always saying, if you don't know your numbers, you're not going to make it as an owner. So I think it's really important to just understand that. And I also think that the way you do business creates actually more loyalty in the long run. And I think you probably retain more customers that way instead of just because before I would just email everything to my bookkeeper and there was no relationship. So I think the building of the relationship actually would in turn make people more loyal customers. I don't know. I personally feel that way.
Well, numbers are sensitive, and so it has to be a trusting relationship. And that's what happens. business owners get attached to one person. And so we've worked really hard to surround you and your peers with our whole team so that you can reach out to the different individuals when I'm not available or one of my teammates is not available. There's always somebody
Right.
that you can talk to. And I think that's a big shift too, is just really understanding that you're getting a team and we're surrounding you with people with skill sets that you don't have. If you remember the E-Myth by Michael Gerber, it's all about you can't wear all the hats. And
Right.
so wear the hats where you're the most, you're the strongest in.
Right.
And then surround yourself with the people that are stronger in the areas that either you're not or you don't want to be,
Yeah, and I think that's something you've really taught me too. Is when you first started working with me, I did want to wear all the hats, and I know part of it's because I'm a control freak, and I always want that control. But you've really helped me to let that go and to understand that without delegation, you're only one person, and I'm never going to have that successful center. And I'm also never going to be able to own multiple centers if I don't let go and trust the people that are working for me to take it over. And to the point now where I'm transitioning from being the owner director to being owner and having a director. So I think that's something just business owners in general too. We are usually overachievers. We, work ourselves to death to a certain extent, and we do try and control everything, therefore do everything. So do you have anything else you'd like to add, or anything else you would like our audience to know about?
There's so much
There's
more.
so much. Right?
It's like,
I know we're going to have to
there's
do more than one.
There is so much more. I would love for your listeners to take the time, take a step back, and really clarify for themselves what they want, for their businesses. And then just remember this: it's forward action, not perfect action.
Right.
You're going to go forward. You're going to implement things. They may or may not work. We don't have all the answers, but we're here to support. And we would just love to see the education industry, and with centers and preschools, all those little ones, to have much more success across the globe,
Absolutely. So, and I will add your contact information, your website in the show notes. So anybody who wants to get a hold of Kristine, you can just go to the show notes and all of her information will be there. I cannot recommend her enough. So I'm going to close it at that. Thank you so much, Kristine, for joining me. And I'm sure I'll have you on again.
Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you again, Kristine, for the wonderful information and interview. You can find more information about Kristine at tlgff.com, and you can email her at Kristine, Kristine, at tlgff.com. And I will include that information in the show notes. Most of you are probably on your cell phones doing something that you can't get to that, so don't worry. That will be in the show notes. Also, remember to check out my website, www.childcarebusinessprofessionals.com. We are launching a new training series next week, January 7th, that will really just help owners and directors focus on daily operations of your center, just taking back control and organizing those daily operations. We're going to focus on techniques that will help you build your enrollment, help with employee retention, and just overall program management quality. So if you'd like more information, you can always email me at childcarebizcoach@gmail.com. I will leave that in the show notes also. You can also find me on my Facebook page, the Child Care Business Professional. And again, the link to that will be on the show in the show notes. So I hope everybody has a fantastic week, And again, let me know if you like it better with me dropping my intro and my conclusion, or if you miss it and you want me to add it. Have a wonderful week.